I need you to look at somebody next to you and tell them, this time next year, I will not be the same person. No, say it like you mean it. Because what you tolerate today will follow you into tomorrow. What you ignore today will control your next year. And what you refuse to change will repeat itself. Some of you don't need another motivational quote. You don't need another January resolution. You need a decision, a line in the sand, a moment where you say, enough is enough. I'm taking control of my next 365 days. I didn't come here to hype you. I came to wake you up. Because 1 year from now is coming whether you prepare for it or not. The question is, will you arrive stronger, wiser, wealthier, disciplined, transformed, or will you arrive with the same excuses, the same habits, the same regrets? 1 year is 12 months, 52 weeks, 365 days, 60 hours, and most wasted at waiting for motivation. But successful people, they build a plan. You don't stumble into success. You schedule it, you design it, you commit to it. And today I'm going to show you how to transform your life with a 1 year success plan. If you give me 1 year of focus, I promise you, your life will never look the same again. If you don't know where you're going, you will spend your life reacting instead of leading. You will wake up every morning responding to messages, demands, pressures, and expectations that were never designed for your destiny. Vision is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the difference between movement and progress. You can be busy and still be stuck. You can be active and still be lost. But when you are clear about your vision, every step has direction. Every sacrifice has meaning. Every no becomes easier because you are protecting a bigger yes. You must see it before you see it. Everything in your life is created twice. First in the mind, then in reality. The house was a blueprint before it was bricks. The business was an idea before it was income. The transformation was a decision before it was visible. If you cannot describe where you want to be 1 year from now, then how will you recognize it when you get there? Clarity eliminates confusion. It silences distractions. It exposes what does not belong in your life. Vision is more than goals on paper. It is identity. It is asking yourself, who must I become in the next 365 days? Not just what do I want to accomplish, but who do I want to be? Do you want to be disciplined, focused, financially intelligent, emotionally strong, spiritually grounded? Because success does not respond to wishes. It responds to alignment. When your habits align with your vision, progress becomes inevitable. Many people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack definition. They say they want success, but success in what? They say they want money, but how much and why? They say they want peace, but they keep entertaining chaos. Vague vision produces vague results. Specific vision produces specific outcomes. When you define your future with precision, your mind begins to look for pathways. Your decisions begin to shift. Your environment begins to change. And let me tell you something powerful. When your vision is strong enough, it will pull you forward on days when motivation is gone. Motivation is emotional. Vision is intentional. Motivation fades when you are tired. Vision stands when you are tested. When you have clarity, you do not quit, because quitting would mean betraying the future you have already seen. You must write it down. Speak it out loud. Rehearse it in your mind. See yourself living it. Feel the confidence. Feel the discipline. Feel the growth. The clearer the picture, the stronger the commitment. A blurry future produces half-hearted effort. A vivid future produces relentless pursuit. Your vision becomes your filter. Opportunities that once looked attractive will lose their shine if they do not align. Relationships that once distracted you will feel out of place. Habits that once felt harmless will now feel expensive. Because once you know where you are going, you begin to understand what it will cost to get there. 1 year from now, you will either be living by design or by default. The difference is clarity. When you decide exactly who you are becoming, the next 365 days stop being random and start becoming intentional. And when your life becomes intentional, transformation is no longer accidental. It is inevitable. Most people fail not because they lack ambition, but because they are overwhelmed by the size of a year. 365 days feels long. It feels distant. It feels like there's always time. And when something feels far away, urgency disappears. That's why you cannot carry the weight of an entire year at once. You were not designed to execute 365 days in a single moment. You were designed to focus on what is in front of you. When you break your year into 90-day missions, something powerful happens. The future stops being abstract and starts becoming actionable. 90 days is long enough to create real change, but short enough to demand focus. It creates pressure in the right way. It creates urgency without panic. It tells your mind, this is not forever. This is a season. Lock in. A year can feel like a marathon without a finish line, but 90 days feels like a race you can see the end of. And when you can see the end, you run differently. You push differently. You sacrifice differently. You stop negotiating with distractions because you know the clock is ticking. There is something transformative about working with a deadline. It sharpens your decisions. It forces clarity. It exposes excuses. Instead of saying, this year I want to get in shape, you say, in the next 90 days, I will train 4 times a week. Instead of saying, I want to grow my income, you say, in the next 90 days, I will launch this project. The difference is focus. The difference is specificity. The difference is execution. 90 days teaches discipline because it removes the illusion of endless time. You cannot procrastinate for 3 months straight and expect results. You cannot waste weeks scrolling, doubting, hesitating, and still expect transformation. When you operate in 90-day cycles, every week matters. Every day counts. You begin to feel the weight of wasted time, and that awareness creates responsibility. There is also power in evaluation. After 90 days, you stop and reflect. What worked? What didn't? Where did you grow? Where did you slip? That pause is not weakness, it is wisdom. Growth requires feedback. Without evaluation, you repeat mistakes. With evaluation, you refine your strategy. You adjust, you improve. You come back stronger in the next cycle. And here is the beauty of it. 4 focused 90-day missions can completely transform a life. 4 seasons of commitment, 4 seasons of discipline, 4 seasons of intentional action. That is how you build momentum. That is how you turn small wins into undeniable progress. Momentum is a powerful force. Once you complete one 90-day mission, confidence rises. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to believe that you can finish what you start. And belief changes behavior. You stop seeing goals as dreams and start seeing them as targets within reach. When you divide your year into focused missions, you stop drifting and start directing. You stop reacting and start building. You stop waiting for motivation and start moving with intention. 90 days of concentrated effort can accomplish more than 12 months of scattered energy. And when you repeat that focus again and again, the year that once felt overwhelming becomes the year that changes everything. Success is not built in the spotlight. It is built in the quiet, ordinary moments that nobody applauds. It is built in the alarm clock you obey when your body wants 5 more minutes. It is built in the decision to read instead of scroll, to practice instead of procrastinate, to prepare instead of complain. Big achievements are simply the loud echoes of small daily disciplines repeated long enough. You cannot transform your life with occasional effort. Inconsistent action produces inconsistent results. One productive day cannot erase 6 distracted ones. One inspired week cannot compensate for months of neglect. The truth is simple but powerful. What you do every day shapes who you become every year. Your habits are casting votes for your future. Every action is a vote for the person you are becoming. Daily non-negotiables create structure in a world full of chaos. They remove the daily debate. When something is non-negotiable, you do not wake up asking if you feel like doing it. You do it because it is part of who you are. Feelings change. Energy fluctuates. Motivation rises and falls. But commitment stays. When you build habits that are automatic, you remove emotion from execution. The most successful people are not necessarily the most talented. They are the most consistent. They show up when it is boring. They show up when it is inconvenient. They show up when nobody is watching. And that consistency compounds. Just like interest in a bank account, small daily investments grow into something powerful over time. A morning routine is not about being trendy. It is about control. If you win the first hour of your day, You set the tone for the rest of it. Instead of reacting to notifications and demands, you respond from intention. You train your mind before the world tries to influence it. You decide who you will be before circumstances try to define you. Learning daily stretches your capacity. Even 30 focused minutes of reading, studying, or practicing builds skill over time. Knowledge compounds, confidence grows, opportunities increase. 1 year of daily learning can separate you from the average. It sharpens your thinking. It strengthens your discipline. It elevates your standards. Discipline in private produces excellence in public. The workout nobody sees builds the strength everyone notices. The preparation done in silence produces performance under pressure. You cannot skip the unseen work and expect visible success. The foundation determines the height of the building. If your daily habits are weak, your results will collapse under pressure. There will be days when you are tired, days when progress feels slow, days when the results are invisible. That is when habits matter most, because habits carry you when motivation cannot. They become the rails that keep your life moving forward even when emotions fluctuate. Over time, something shifts. What once felt difficult becomes normal. What once required effort becomes identity. You no longer say, I'm trying to be disciplined. You say, this is who I am. And when discipline becomes identity, growth becomes inevitable. Your year is not determined by one dramatic breakthrough. It is determined by the quiet, daily choices that shape your character. Master the day, and you will master the year. Control your habits, and you will control your future. You cannot build a powerful future while constantly leaking energy in the present. Every day you wake up with a limited supply of focus, emotional strength, and mental clarity. And whether you realize it or not, something is draining it. Sometimes it's people, sometimes it's habits, sometimes it's your own negative thinking. But if you do not identify what is draining you, you will keep wondering why you are always tired, distracted, and unproductive. Energy is currency. Where it goes, your life follows. If your energy is spent on drama, comparison, gossip, and scrolling through other people's lives, you will have nothing left to invest in your own growth. You cannot expect high-level results with low-level focus. You cannot expect clarity while constantly entertaining chaos. Some relationships feel familiar but are not fruitful. They normalize mediocrity. They laugh at discipline. They question ambition. They feed comfort instead of growth. And every time you lower your standard to stay comfortable around them, you shrink your potential. It is not about arrogance. It is about alignment. If the people around you do not respect your goals, they will unconsciously sabotage them, not because they hate you, but because your growth makes them uncomfortable. Then there are habits that quietly steal your momentum. Endless scrolling that turns minutes into hours. Late nights that ruin productive mornings. Procrastination disguised as preparation. These behaviors feel harmless in the moment, but they accumulate. They delay progress. They weaken discipline. They condition your mind to choose comfort over commitment. Guarding your time is guarding your future. Every yes costs you something. When you say yes to distractions, you say no to development. When you say yes to drama, you say no to peace. When you say yes to laziness, you say no to leadership. The problem is not that you don't have enough time. It's that too much of your time is unprotected. You must become selective about conversations, selective about environments, selective about what enters your mind, because what enters your mind shapes your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your behavior. If you constantly consume negativity, you will struggle to produce positivity. If you constantly compare yourself to others, you will feel behind even when you are progressing. Protecting your energy does not mean isolating yourself from the world. It means being intentional about where you invest yourself. It means recognizing that not every invitation deserves acceptance. Not every argument deserves a response. Not every opportunity deserves pursuit. Maturity is understanding that sometimes the most powerful move you can make is stepping back. When you remove what drains you, you create space for what develops you. Space for focus, space for creativity, space for strategic thinking, space for rest that restores instead of distractions that exhaust. And once your energy is aligned with your goals, progress accelerates. Clarity sharpens, confidence rises. You cannot soar while carrying unnecessary weight. You cannot climb higher while holding on to what pulls you down. Transformation requires subtraction as much as addition. When you eliminate what drains you, you give yourself the strength to build what defines you. A plan without measurement is just a wish dressed up as ambition. You can write down goals. You can speak powerful affirmations. You can feel inspired for a moment. But if you are not tracking your progress, you are operating in the dark. And when you move in the dark, you stumble over the same obstacles again and again. Progress requires awareness. Awareness requires honesty. It takes courage to look at your week and admit where you wasted time. It takes maturity to review your habits and acknowledge inconsistency. But growth begins the moment you stop lying to yourself. You cannot improve what you refuse to confront. When you measure your actions, you turn vague effort into visible reality. You begin to see patterns. You notice when your productivity is strongest. You recognize what triggers distraction. You identify what actually moves the needle and what only feels productive. Measurement transforms emotion into evidence. Without tracking, you rely on memory, and memory is deceptive. It exaggerates effort and minimizes procrastination. It convinces you that you are doing more than you truly are. But numbers do not lie. Time log does not lie. Tasks completed do not lie. Results either improved or they did not. Measurement forces clarity. Reviewing your progress regularly keeps you aligned. A week can drift quickly if you are not paying attention. Small delays become large setbacks when ignored. But when you pause and reflect, you regain control. You ask yourself whether your daily actions reflect your yearly vision. If they do not, you adjust before the gap grows wider. Adjustment is not failure, it is intelligence. The strongest leaders are not those who never make mistakes. They are those who recognize mistakes early and correct them quickly. Stubbornness keeps people stuck. Flexibility moves people forward. When something is not producing results, you refine your strategy instead of abandoning your goal. There will be moments when progress feels slower than expected. That is when measurement becomes motivation. Seeing even small improvement reminds you that effort is working. 1% better each week compounds into massive transformation over time. But without tracking, those small wins go unnoticed and discouragement creeps in. Evaluation also builds discipline. When you know you will review your actions, you become more intentional about them. You think twice before wasting an hour. You reconsider distractions. You act with awareness because you understand that everything will be accounted for. That accountability sharpens focus. Growth is rarely dramatic in the beginning. It is subtle. It is incremental. It is quiet. But consistent measurement turns subtle progress into visible momentum. It keeps you engaged in the process instead of obsessed with immediate results. You cannot control every outcome, but you can control your input. You can control your effort, your focus, your consistency. And when you measure your input, you strengthen it. When you strengthen your input, results eventually follow. Reflection creates refinement. Refinement creates improvement. Improvement creates transformation. A year does not change because of one big decision. It changes because of continuous correction. When you track, review, and adjust, you stop drifting and start directing your growth with intention and precision. Stop chasing the goal and start becoming the person who can carry it. Because if you achieve something your character cannot sustain, you will lose it just as quickly as you gained it. Success is heavy, influence is heavy, leadership is heavy, and if your identity is weak, the weight of your own blessing will crush you. Most people focus on outcomes. They want the promotion, the platform, the income, the recognition, but they ignore the internal transformation required to handle those outcomes. You cannot pour new opportunities into an old mindset. You cannot step into a higher level while thinking at a lower one. Growth is not just external expansion, it is internal elevation. Who must you become to deserve the life you are praying for? That question changes everything. It shifts your attention from wishing to working, from dreaming to developing. If you want financial success, you must become disciplined with money before you have more of it. If you want influence, you must become trustworthy before people follow you. If you want peace, you must become emotionally mature before circumstances calm down. Character is built in private. Integrity is proven when nobody is watching. Discipline is strengthened when excuses are available but unused. The world sees the reward, but it rarely sees the refinement. The late nights, the self-control, the difficult conversations, the moments when you chose growth over comfort. That is where identity is shaped. Your habits form your character, and your character determines your ceiling. Talent can open doors, but character keeps them open. Skill can create opportunity, but integrity sustains it. When pressure rises, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your preparation. If you have not strengthened your mindset, adversity will expose you. Resilience must be developed intentionally. There will be setbacks. There will be criticism. There will be seasons when progress feels invisible. If your identity is attached only to results, you will collapse when results slow down. But if your identity is rooted in growth, you will endure, you will adapt, you will continue. Upgrading your mindset means replacing limiting beliefs with empowering ones. It means refusing to see yourself as a victim of circumstances and choosing to see yourself as a builder of outcomes. It means understanding that obstacles are not signals to stop, but opportunities to strengthen your capacity. Transformation is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming the highest version of yourself, shedding excuses, releasing insecurity, letting go of fear that keeps you small, stepping into responsibility, owning your decisions, accepting that your future is connected to your development. When you focus on becoming instead of merely achieving, something powerful happens. You stop being desperate for validation. You stop rushing timelines. You trust the process because you are growing through it. And as you grow, opportunities align naturally, not because you chase them relentlessly, but because you evolved into someone ready to handle them. The real success of a one-year plan is not just what you gain. It is who you become in the process. And when your identity rises, your results will follow. I dare you, don't just leave here inspired, leave here transformed. Make a decision that shakes your comfort. Draw a line in the sand and declare, the old me expires tonight. 1 year from now, you will either have proof of your discipline or excuses for your delay. The clock is ticking whether you move or not. So move with purpose, move with fire, move with faith. Give God something to bless. Give your future something to thank you for. And when they see you next year, they won't recognize you because you refuse to stay the same.